Following a chaotic Mexican Grand Prix qualifying session, Red Bull's Max Verstappen was under investigation by the stewards, but ultimately escaped punishment. Verstappen, along with Mercedes' George Russell, was being scrutinized by the FIA for potentially impeding other drivers at the exit of the Mexican pit lane during the qualifying session. Verstappen was positioned as the lead car at the exit of the pit lane, with Russell directly behind him. As other competitors were trying to exit the pit and complete their final flying lap in Q1, it seemed that Verstappen and Russell might have impeded others in the pit lane. The concern arose due to FIA race director Niels Wittich's decision to enforce a maximum lap time between safety car line 2 and safety car line 1. This measure was implemented to prevent hazardous situations, as drivers tend to slow down to create gaps in the final sector of the lap. However, drivers have been observed exploiting the space between the pit exit line and the second safety car line to establish their required gaps, leading to the investigation. Bullshit. They create it themselves with that new rule. Everyone is trying to create space for themselves. I saw that behind me, someone was overtaking 5 cars in the pits at once, and the person wanted to overtake me too. Whereas, when I exited, I wanted to create my own gap. But everyone does this, so I'm surprised that... Well, I'm just surprised, Verstappen told Dutch media when addressing the investigation. The incident involving certain drivers in Formula 1 during a specific session in Singapore seemed to raise expectations of penalties, as a similar offence by Max Verstappen in a prior race led to a reprimand, later acknowledged by the FIA as a wrong call. There was an anticipation that, if found guilty, the drivers might receive grid penalties for the upcoming race. However, after an investigation conducted by the FIA, it was determined that no further action was necessary. The stewards acknowledged that the incidents were a result of the minimum lap time rule that was in effect. They concluded that it was more favourable to have cars backing each other up in the pits rather than out on the track. As a result, all 3 drivers involved were cleared of any wrongdoing in an investigation that concluded 3 hours after the session ended. How do past decisions influence current rulings and the perception of fairness in the sport? Let us know what's your opinion in the comments section. In the aftermath of the investigation into the actions of 3 drivers during the Mexico race, where slow exits from the pit lane caused a queue of cars, the stewards determined that these incidents were an unavoidable consequence of the minimum lap time rule. They emphasized that this rule is rightly intended to prevent the dangerous bunching of cars on the circuit during qualifying sessions. The stewards acknowledged the conflicting demands imposed on the drivers due to the minimum lap time rule. On one hand, they must meet the minimum time requirement, while also ensuring manageable gaps to cars in front. Simultaneously, they are required to avoid unnecessary slowing or stopping at the pit exit. The statement underlined the consensus among all involved parties, including the stewards, that it is safer to have cars queuing in the pit lane or at the pit exit, as opposed to facing potentially hazardous scenarios with large speed differences on the track. The stewards recognized that the drivers involved in these incidents were acting in good faith and prioritizing safety. They also supported the decision by race direction to apply the minimum lap time. However, while acknowledging the current necessity of the minimum lap time rule, they highlighted the need to explore better solutions for pit exit scenarios, as the optimal resolution for such situations is currently uncertain. How might the FIA streamline or clarify these regulations to ensure they don't create conflicting scenarios for drivers? Let us know what's your opinion in the comments section. In recent Formula 1 sessions, drivers face a challenge in building gaps during qualifying due to the minimum lap time rule, which only begins once they cross the second safety car line, located after the pit lane. This has led to instances of drivers pacing themselves in the pit lane to create gaps to cars on the track, while inadvertently causing delays for their fellow drivers in the pit lane. Max Verstappen and other drivers have expressed the challenges posed by this rule, emphasizing the difficulty in managing gaps and not impeding others without the option of pacing themselves in the pit lane. Verstappen pointed out the impracticalities in this situation and called for a more lenient approach, given that the pit lane is a safe environment. However, he acknowledged the complexities of finding a solution that balances the need for gaps with potential issues on the track. Charles Leclerc acknowledged the positive impact of the rule in certain circumstances, such as preventing dangerously slow-moving traffic at venues like Spa, but highlighted the new issues it has generated, especially concerning difficulties in creating gaps. Similarly, Carlos Sainz concurred with his peers and suggested that discussions are ongoing to find a better solution for the next season, recognizing the need for a regulatory change and the involvement of the FIA to implement these changes. How can they adapt the rule to strike a balance between safety and fair competition? Let us know what's your opinion in the comments section. Thanks for joining us on this thrilling ride through the world of motorsport. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more high-octane action, and ring the notification bell so you never miss a video from us. See you in the next video. This is Turbo Turns signing off.